Hello, beautiful people of the world. Um, I just wanted to kind of make an update about the Jupiter and Scorpio energy because it's kind of been kicking my ass, and I feel like I'm probably not the only person that is going through a lot of these emotional waves and transformations that can be really quite painful. Um, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he kind of phrased it like, Scorpio doesn't want to fully reveal itself. That's kind of the nature of what it is. And Jupiter leaves no stone unturned. So we're kind of scraping up the gunk at the bottom and the tar like on the grill, where we would have been perfectly fine to cook our food on top of it. But the work needs to be done, and it's uncomfortable. It's not necessarily natural to expunge yourself of every single trauma and pain and trigger and essence of darkness and the past all at once continuously, because Jupiter is infinite expansion and enlightenment, and there isn't really like a pause button to this process. It's like you get knocked down and punched in the face and you're beat up and exhausted, and then the second that you recover and you are strong enough to get up, that's the second that you're strong enough to get another blow, not, you know, stop fighting. And this is going to be happening until fall of this year. And when Jupiter moves into Sagittarius, I feel like we will have such immense freedom and joy and passion and adventure, and we'll be able to let loose so fully and so purely and authentically because we've gone through the Scorpio depths, and now all of that is cleared out. So we are a more integrated vessel that can channel light more accurately through our beings. But this is still the summer, and this is like the heat of of this placement. It is so raw and exposing and vulnerable, and it's scary. It's going to bring up a lot of fear and insecurity and pain, and it's going to bring it to the light because that's what Jupiter is trying to do. It's trying to drag all of this stuff up and let it bubble up to the surface so that it can be seen. And it's like you don't want to see it, you know? Like, everyone's like that. We're all human beings, okay? We've all been through a bunch of shit, and it doesn't necessarily matter whose it is, and it's not a contest, and we all have some kind of burden or tragedy that we go through as part of this human experience, and that is probably another topic and something I'm still trying to understand. But it's not perfect, you know? And we don't want to always see that. We don't always want to acknowledge our own flaws and our own shortcomings and place the blame on ourselves instead of other people. Jupiter and Scorpio is probably going to cause a lot of fights and a lot of arguments and a lot of just problems and stuff that we don't want to deal with. And in the moment, it seems so negative and so destructive, but it really does have a positive intention and a purpose. But it's like we don't really want to do it. Maybe we didn't all sign up for this. This is not everyone's natal placement. People that have Jupiter and Scorpio might be more familiar with not being able to hide anything. And they're probably people that are typically more open and honest in general because they don't always have the option. And for them, this might put everyone on an equal playing field. But for those of us that don't have this placement and definitely don't have water Jupiters, are going to really feel this. And I mean, it happens every like 12 or so years, but this is kind of, I haven't been evolved enough to ever reflect on this. So that might be the case for a lot of people. It is just a lot. And I want to channel through some healing words and some advice, and maybe from Jupiter themselves, or whatever I'm feeling from my heart and from my guides, because I am struggling a lot to undergo this transformative process. I feel like I am killing an old part of myself and destroying old coping mechanisms and defense mechanisms that are ultimately not a part of me, but they have been for such a long time that letting go of them is, it's like a demon just digging in and clawing on till the last possible second. And I have to like burn it off, and it really hurts. And I am hoping that these metaphors are resonating with you guys. And I'm not trying to be negative or anything. I'm drawing on a collective emotion. I hope and think, and maybe that'll make it a little bit easier. Like, no, you're not crazy. Everyone's kind of going through a hard time right now in their own way. Especially look at where Jupiter is in your chart, like what house it's in. Mine falls between the 7th and the 8th house. So for me, it really manifests a lot in the way that I'm relating to other people and how I'm sharing my energy with other people. It's just really triggering right now. But let me try and get some positive messages. Everything that you are experiencing right now is in an effort to make you a stronger person. And while this might seem casual or cliche, and yes, we are always trying to gain more energy and have more potential and be stronger people, this is life-changing. There is no returning to the point and the person that you were before you underwent this process, and trying to reintegrate with your past vibrations is only going to cause you anxiety and pain. The future is yet to be settled, because in a way it is determined on how much you embrace this process. If you continue to fight back and resist, it is only going to cause you more pain and less evolvement. It is best not to hide from this transit, but rather to fully allow it to do what it is trying to do, and then it will be over. It is not as long lasting as some other transits, so it is definitely within your reach to power through it. Some healing messages that I'm getting are that it is important to go slow, to take things slow. There's no rush. If we are disemboweling all of these really intense emotions that have been buried deep within us, you can't just rip them out. And Jupiter, while it is very bright and there is nothing that can hide from it, it is also gentle and expansive and airy and light. So you can bring these things through waves that allow it to dissipate. And it doesn't have to be dredged up in a really heavy way and destroyed and attacked, because those are the energies that we're trying to heal right now. Jupiter simply wants these things to be out of your body. So taking things slowly, being patient with yourself, understanding that these are just emotions. They can't hurt you without you giving them permission to do so. They are just feelings. They're not, I mean, yes, it sounds silly. Of course, feelings are feelings, you know, but at the same time, they can't hurt you physically. They can't really destroy you like that, even though it might feel that way. They are just fleeting experiences, and trying to hold on to them is why we're here in the first place. I think Jupiter and Scorpio wants to teach us that there's nothing we can hold on to in this world. And most people think of that in a materialistic way, like, okay, I'm not going to be able to keep my money when I leave, and my house when I leave, and the people that I love. And you also don't get to keep all of your emotions at any given time. They're going to change, they're going to adapt, you're going to get new ones, old ones are going to go away. And when you structure your self-identity based off of emotions, especially the deep, dark, painful ones, when they're being removed, you're going to experience a loss of self, and that is normal, but you will be gaining a sense of self in replacement. There's nothing that is always going to be balanced out. There's nothing that's going to be lost, and that's why people are afraid. They think if I give something up, if I give up this habit or this attitude or this memory, I'm going to be missing something. I'm going to be lacking something. And then that inevitably turns into fear, which inevitably turns to solidify and re-support that really negative feedback loop within yourself, but it will be replaced by something. An empty hole in a vacuum in a vortex is always going to pull something back in. So if you rip out this really painful memory, it might be empty for a little bit of time, of course, while it's like healing and reconfiguring itself. But if you call forth for your guides and for a new positive light to fill that space, you will be 100% full again, but it will be real. And again, it sounds cliche, but when you break a bone and it heals, that is the strongest part of the bone now. And scar tissue is stronger than skin. And these lessons are meant to heal us and not to break us down, though it might not seem like that in the moment. So please just be patient. Please value yourself and your own strength and your own integrity, and really authenticate the process that you're going through. And you don't have to dismiss it or think that you are alone, because you're not. We're all going through this collectively, and we need to be there for one another. Scorpio is about sharing emotions with other people. You know, Cancer is about my personal emotions and my immediate family's emotions. Scorpio is about sharing emotions in an intimate sexual way with people that you really fucking care about, with people that you hate. These like very deep, raw emotions that you can't help but exchange with other people. Pisces is about exchanging things with the whole universe. But for Scorpio, it's really about these deep, intimate, interpersonal relationships, whether they be romantic or sexual or facilitated on codependency or have a dark history, what have you. Those relationships are going to be triggered by this placement. So if you are in a relationship right now and you are having a really rough time and you are really bringing everything up to the surface, and it feels like you're just gonna fucking explode or your soul's being ripped apart, try and see how you feel when this transit is over, and see what is retained from that and what was simply part of this process. And don't necessarily blame it all on the relationship or each other. If you can make it through this transit, that's a really good sign. A lot of people won't, and that's also perfectly fine. It's a very transformative, transitional kind of a placement. Relationships are going to be lost, and relationships are going to be forged, and then relationships are going to break and be strengthened. So take your time to kind of understand where you fall in that. Obviously, I didn't list every single possibility, but just know that it's normal to be reflecting on all of these things and to have doubts and fears and insecurities and confusion and pain and trauma just floating all over the place and feeling very overwhelmed and not quite knowing what to do with it. Jupiter, in the beginning of this, it was just really kind of like brushing off the surface and kicking the dust up a little bit. And you can see this all over the world in the media and with war and tragedy and everything. But as it gets deeper and deeper, that's where we are right now, in the middle of it, where we're getting those deep, raw, core things out of it. And then once it moves on further in a few months or so, and it starts to begin to prepare to transition into Sagittarius, more of the healing part of it will be happening, and it won't be so much of the scraping of the barrel, so be it until 12 years from now. When it's going to happen all over again. But hopefully we'll be more cleaned out by then. And So really just the next 2 months or so, just hang in there and let it be what it needs to be. There's no point fighting it. It's going to happen anyway. So in a way, you kind of have to submit and give up. And if you need to be depressed and nap all day, do what you need to do to process. If you need to isolate and be by yourself, if you need to have a bunch of raw, passionate sex, if you need to drink or smoke or whatever, I mean, be healthy with yourself, especially if those are kind of part of the things you're trying to get rid of. But you don't have to give up everything all at once. And if you need to cope, it's okay. You don't need to add guilt on top of whatever it is you're doing just to kind of survive in the modern world. Just take care of yourself and be easy, be gentle with yourself, be kind with yourself, love yourself, and forgive yourself and forgive others. This is really all I can say. And I hope that this video is helpful. If any of you guys want to comment on this, please, I would love to hear what you have to say. This has been a very intense shift for me from Jupiter and Libra, which is my own placement, and everything just seemed so peaceful and balanced, and it's just kind of scary. But I'm dealing with it the best that I can and trying to get the gifts and the messages that I can from that. So if I seem a little bit more distant or preoccupied, this is definitely probably a big part of that. Though I will try to continue with the Mercury videos. I have a lot of request videos that all happened all at once, so I'm a little bit overwhelmed, but if I have time, I will try to get to a few of those because I know people generally just want help understanding themselves. So thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I will put my website in the description. I'm going to start doing new moon and full moon blogs and posting them on there a couple times a month when I have the capacity to do that. And I'm also working on a birth chart right now. But if you are interested for June, then I definitely have some availability. But thank you guys so much for watching. I love all of you. Peace and love through this transit.